Yeah, so I wanted to make a report. It's the 29th night of the fast. May something, 21st, I think, and 2020. And I had a question answered for me during this fast that I wanted to pass on and to share, and kind of be some information, because every year um, we talk about, or we look forward to having, like, some kind of final fast, some kind of a fast where we were able to get through everything, and then maybe we would die during the fast, something like that. Those kinds of things. And also that we would be able to have a kind of perfect fast, so that we would get everything that the Almighty wanted to, was giving to us for that year in that fast, everything that we needed. And so, Subi himself said once that, just in a kind of offhand remark, which he often made just out of the blue, he'd say something. He'd say, "Well, maybe this year." I think he said something that involved these words. That perhaps this year, or maybe this year, you'll be able to do, or finally you'll be able to do, or one year, you'll be able to do the perfect fast. And or have a perfect fast. And you think, oh my gosh, Ali, I mean, you can think so many things. You say, a perfect fast? How could you have a perfect fast? You couldn't have a perfect fast. I mean, come on. I mean, nobody's perfect. So if you take it the wrong way, or the wrong forces are there listening when you're hearing this, you might take it get the wrong idea, and you might think, well, okay, fine. I'll try to be as perfect as I can, of course. But, I'm not going to fool myself into thinking that I'll be able to have a perfect fast. But from the experience I've had this year, I have a new perspective, which I'm going to share with you, which I think is salutary, which is that what is a perfect fast? Well, a perfect fast is something like the fast I did this year. Which is, of course, it goes without saying, it's not perfect. I didn't do everything perfectly. But in the context of a perfect fast and what it means, I prayed for God. I asked God to give me a perfect fast, if that was possible. I wanted to have a perfect fast. And God answered my request. And it wasn't because all of a sudden I was made to do everything just perfectly and couldn't have a thought, or just somehow was put in some other place. I just went on like I always do, which, each year gets a little bit more careful and more attentive to what is actually coming down the pike, what's actually going on in the fast. So this year, partly because of the lockdown, son was at home, he was fasting. And my other son was also fasting nearby for part of the fast. And he fasted the whole fast as well. And my daughter up north said she was fasting. I hope she was. Hope she did the whole fast. So a number of people in my family were doing the fast. But the basic thing is that we pretty much stayed at home. And I turned off, I've been watching YouTube videos as a way to get, is what's going on in the world, and I have my different people that I watch, and little news things and stuff. And I turned all that off, and I didn't watch any of that. I didn't watch a single show, or anything, or see a video. No videos. I glanced at a few headlines here and there, but just in passing, and I tried not to really when I was uploading videos. So no incoming. I think I listened to music on the radio in the car once for a few minutes, some light tune, but no music really. And did the physical fast and found myself kind of fasting a little bit before dawn, starting the fast. Kept getting more and more, or kept increasing to some degree until finally it was like this. Last time around, it's been about 35 minutes or something before the dawn starts that I will start fasting. And breaking fast, it's a normal time. We would say our things of gratitude and talk to God out loud, and stuff, and share our things in a little bit, and then have a cup of coffee and a smoke or something, just the ordinary things. But trying not to eat, trying to kind of curtail and not eat a lot, and maybe no meals, or a small meal and a few snacks, a little ice cream, whatever, coffee. So there was those two things basically, and then paying attention and not distracting myself. Say, okay, well, I think now I'll read the Srila Bodhidharma, or now I'll read the Quran, or something, kind of watching to see what I was actually doing, so that if there was processing or an inner kind of condition that needed to go on, and I would do that. So I did all those things, and it wasn't extreme or anything. It was just kind of a common sense sort of approach, and I found that there was always something to do. There was actually not a lot of time for vigiling, but I did some. I mean, it all kind of worked out in a sort of balanced way, and then I would pretty much be quiet all day long and find myself processing, going into things as my feelings cleaned up. Which was, in passing, I can say that it's a good thing to understand that as you progress in the fast, the more successful you're getting yourself, or God is putting you, is able to put you in a position, and you're accepting it, of being kind of ready to get cleaned up, or being cleaned up. That the more purification that you can then go through. And so the more successful your fast is, the more intense the purification becomes as the final days approach. And so instead of getting lighter and lighter, I mean, you do get lighter, a little bit lighter, but I mean, instead of things getting easier and easier as the fast progresses, it kind of goes a little bit in the other direction, where the purification becomes more and more intense. Which, of course, is all to the good. We want to get as purified as we can. So, the point I'm making in this video is that so then now the 29th night, so really one more day, and then the next day the moon comes up at around 11 in the morning, 10:40 or 10:38 or something. And if experience is how much of a guide, we will find ourselves not fasting after that. As soon as the moon comes up, we'll have a cup of coffee or something, going about our business. Kind of watching the forces came in, started yesterday or the day before. It's very smooth. It's kind of like being on an airplane and getting ready to land. The captain calls in and says, well, we'll be landing in a few minutes. And so everything's pretty smooth. Fasten your seat belts and straighten up your chair. And so you do all those things, and then you have a smooth landing. You disembark, and you go into the airport, and you collect your baggage, and you're off to the rest of the year. So this year, though, just earlier this evening, the evening of the 29th night, I felt I had a very strong purification today, taking care of some stuff that I'd forgotten about, that happened to me when I was young. And younger, pretty young. No, things I hadn't gone through, hadn't been put to go through yet. Tough things, difficult things. But not that. I mean, I was able to go through it, and so then when we broke fast, I felt a feeling that I had gotten the benefit that God had intended. I had a good fast. The fast was kind of complete. It was a complete, kind of a completed fast. Now I still have one more day, but I mean, I've already felt that kind of completeness. And let's see, can we get more light on this? Maybe a little bit. And so that was the answer to my kind of question that I had, and the answer to my prayer is that I did have a perfect fast, and that is like a perfect fast for me in the sense that the fast was complete, insofar as I am able to receive a fast according to my strengths and everything else, and what I'm able to do and what I do. I was sincere and my intention was clear, and I did what I said, and I said what I meant, and stuff like that. So I did have, so that you could say that's a perfect fast. You want to have a perfect fast, and you don't read anything, you certainly don't watch TV. You do not want to watch TV. And you want to keep the full time of the fast, and eat, very little or not too much. You don't have to be crazy about it, extreme, and make yourself suffer and things, and you want to eat some more, but you can't, or anything like that. But just kind of, by now, having done the fast for 50 years or so, around that time, 45, 50 years, I don't have, my appetites are pretty much subdued, and I don't really have a lot of appetites. Every now and then I feel like, well, I'll have a cookie or something. Yeah, okay, have a cookie. Have a little ice cream, more coffee, smoke or something. Anywho, so it's been, I thank God for it, and him very much, and I hope God as well. And so I learned a lot of stuff this year on the past. So anyway, that's the main thing I want to report. That this could be considered to be a perfect fast. A perfect fast for you would be a fast that you did well, and that you were able to follow the inner processes or be there for them. You were able to collect the mail, so to speak. Subi used to say, I've said it once, that God is always giving presents, but that but the thing is, the postman comes to deliver them, but there's almost never anybody there to get the presents. So it's that kind of thing. You want to be there when it's time. Sometimes the receiving will come in the middle of the night. If you're aware of it, you can stop. Maybe a night of power, some kind of special thing will come in. It'll last for an hour or something. If you're there, you can get involved, get on that bus, take that train, have that processing go on in you. And if you're not there, if you're reading a book or something, maybe you don't even notice it, or you think, well, it's a really nice night. You don't really get it. So doing all those things, which is not hard to do. It's just like being in class, and you pay attention, you listen to the teacher, not overly so, not staring at her every word, or whatever, but just being normally attentive. And so that was, this has been, for me, a completed fast. Maybe one of the few that I could really, maybe the only one that I can think. I've been happy before at the end of the This is kind of a nice sort of, yeah, got a feeling of completeness, or we got to. We had a complete pass. So then, for me, a perfect pass in some sense. So there was that. Now, I'll share something with you if you stayed this long, kind of, as they say in the videos, kind of a bonus thing. What I've been understanding is there's talk about, there's been a lot of talk about the first being that came here and what he experienced or what kind of situation he was in on the earth and how it was pretty good. And he and his wife, or Eve, the other half of his soul, were walking with God, and they were kind of, in a nice place in the garden, and they were having fun and doing things and not harming anybody or harming themselves. And then something happened. And people have been trying to figure out ever since what was it that happened. And I still don't know, although today I have to tell you, I was watching the record, and I'm getting very close to it. Maybe tomorrow, the last day of the fast, or sometime during the day, I'll get to see the rest of that Akashic record. I got too excited today, and I couldn't, and I got worn out, and I couldn't quite see it, but I got part of it. But what I've been understanding is, and it aligns with what it says in the Quran. You kind of think, well, gosh, gee, because here was Adam, this perfect guy, this perfect being that God sent down to the earth. But then in the end, it said, well, I didn't think much. In the Quran it reports, wasn't that happy with Adam. And you kind of don't want to think that. You think, well, gosh, gee, Adam, come on, he's the first person, and he was perfect, and so. I mean, what happened? I mean, it's like that's not cool. That's not fun. Also, but I've been kind of understanding something because it's been coming to me a lot about Adam and Eve, and I haven't gotten much. It's still like I'm still kind of trying to, I don't have a resounding, complete picture here at all. But I mean, I do have some picture, some information. What I guess, it just feeds. It's like they say they have a name for it, the Akashic record. I don't know if that's, it's some kind of thing like that where you can see them doing things in their little Akashic record forms, which isn't physical. You don't see them like a movie, but you see them in their kind of what they were doing, in a kind of a slightly different way. I don't want to try and describe it. If you've seen it, you know what it is. It's recognizable, but they don't look quite like. It's more like the inner person or something, or the inner consciousness, or I don't know. It's just like watching something. So, but the thing is, they had to. In order to deal, I mean, they were equal. There was equal halves of the same. It was the same soul, but in two different in half for each. And Sufi said the woman was put in a slightly different dimension, and she has a different function. The man is the dynamic thing, and she's more like the receiver, the home for everything. Everything comes into that home. He gives her. And she processes, she works with that content, what he brings. And, but having had quite a few, a few relationships in my life, not too many really deep, serious ones, but one at least, and of those, and where you find that dealing with a person in a slightly different dimension has different functions is a sensitive issue, and it has to be done. You have to be trained and shown by God so that you don't make a lot of mistakes, like getting angry with them or frustrated with them because they're different in some way, even though they're you. In some ways, they're also not you. In other words, their processes work differently. So there are certainly kind of things that you have to deal with, like they don't react as a man does. And I'm talking now from my perspective as a man. They don't react as a man does. They seem to see the world in, it's the same world, but they see it in a kind of a different way. It has different things, different parts of it have a real meaning to them. Flowers, for instance. I mean, if you gave me flowers, I'd say, well, that's nice. But I mean, if you give a woman flowers, but she gets like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. It means something to her. And I'm not going to explain why that is, but if you want to talk about that, well, we can talk about that some other time. That's pretty simple. But so there's a bunch of mischief that can occur. I mean, you can start to have a bad opinion about a person if you can start to judge them and condemn them for doing things. Christ told us don't do that. So if you don't do that and you forgive and so forth, as he also admonished us and said you must. Well, he didn't admonish. He said do this and you'll. If you don't judge, then you won't be judged, and if you don't condemn, you won't be condemned, and if you forgive, you'll be forgiven. And so who wouldn't want to take that up? I mean, that's a great deal, isn't it? I mean, that's hey, I signed up for that as soon as I read about it, and I've been trying to, and it alerted me to that whole process, all those processes around trying to have an opinion about somebody or something. And I've been working with that for a long time. Seeing it as for outwardly how it works, and then how it is in the inner. And it's true. I mean, I find that in the inner, my experience has been you're not busy judging people and preaching at them or anything like that. No, it's kind of like pretty quiet, and you say, well, so they're doing all right. And then you realize, well, yeah, God's working with them too, not just you. So they're having their life, and they feel pretty good about it, just like you do about yours. If they're sincere and they're doing the best they can, they're going to feel pretty good about their life, aren't they? So, but all of those things, I'm realizing in the early years that people didn't know anything. They didn't know if you did something wrong. For instance, if you got angry, you didn't really understand the consequences of it. Or if you hit somebody, or if you walked off and left them somewhere, or just abandoned them, or you kept putting them down, or any of those kinds of things, they didn't realize that isn't good. It doesn't work. So the Almighty was there to guide them and teach them, but I'm sure, I don't know how that worked, but I assume it worked quite well, very well, until they walked off from that and kind of, Sufi said, gave in to the negative passions, which is a simple way of looking at that, is that they said, well, and I don't know, I haven't experienced this directly, but just using the words, it's like you say, well, no, I don't want to do that. That doesn't seem like. So they kind of go against what God is guiding them to do. And then, of course, right away, there's consequences. And the good thing that was going to happen doesn't happen. And the thing that they gave into, that's more kind of the result of that. So it's a lower thing. So life gets pretty bad. It can get pretty bad pretty fast. Then you can imagine, you can think. You don't want to be imagining things too much, but you can think that a lot of things could go just really wrong, and so all of that stuff is all that baggage comes down from all the consequences of all those wrong actions. Ultimately, say being lost. It comes down through the generational line. And so by the time you get to the present age, I figure something like 2,500 generations. I mean, that's a lot of generations. And I mean, because even one generation is a lot, you know? So, you know, by then it's like very, very difficult. And so God has been bringing us back through the gift and teaching us. But what I'm seeing, you know, it's just a partial kind of insight. I won't say don't, you know. What I'm seeing is that God needed to teach us, or was there to show us how to behave toward the opposite sex in all aspects, and guide us and you know teach us to have self-restraint and not give in to different disturbing feelings we might have, frustration, anger, whatever it might be, fear, terror. You know, I mean, a woman can terrorize you, that's for sure. You know, psychologically, she can make you be terrified of her, what she might do next. Hurt your feelings or something, or abandon you, or whatever she might be able to do, or has the option of doing. So all that needed to be trained, and it's really, we're very lucky because we're being trained how to do that. And so then when you can do it, it's really great. Now, in my case, I'm being trained to do that, but the woman I'm being trained to do it with is not too keen on being trained to do that. So she's just, you know, it's rough because I have to deal with a lot of tough things. But I don't judge her for it, and I don't condemn her, and I forgive her, and I hope the best for her. You know, and it's hard to do that with your enemies and because these kind of women who aren't really that keen on or don't understand and worship God, they're ignorant, they don't know. You know, they follow, you know, different forces come in, and so it's like, as Sufi said, a pretty woman is like a mask, or a pretty face is like a mask. It's a mask for the lower forces. It's really quite true. What force is emanating out of that woman seems so beautiful? Well, beautiful to whom? That's beautiful to your forces. How it makes you feel. You feel, oh my God, she's beautiful. Well, why do you feel that? Because, of course, God makes exquisite creations, and they are quite nice, and you know, they seem quite perfect. But there's also, you know, a kind of an attraction, a force there, a feeling, and so that force is what's making you feel so how beautiful they are. So as he says, you know, a beautiful woman is like, you know, on her face, I forget which it was, is like a mask for the lower forces, and this, so that's true. You know? And of course, they're not always in that state, depending on the spectrum of being lost. They can be much more in a human thing, more in a true human thing. That's even greater. So that's what I'm seeing. The kind of big thing that happened that, you know, it's taken so much work. The Almighty has been so patient, and you know, I can't speak. I know God knows it's been, you know, if I may say, a real challenge, and maybe something like that. You know, I don't know for sure, but in the way we would think of it, I guess. All these generations, and now the opportunity, because of the gift He gave us, here we are. We're coming and we're being able to actually do it. It's really quite wonderful and great. Finally, able to treat the opposite sex in the way that that God intends for them to be treated. And you know, it does. It requires self-restraint, understanding, grace. In other words, being inspired or being in the right state and condition. And so anyway, that's about all I have to report about this final just before the final day, a full day of fasting comes up, and just toward the end, the 29th night, and you know, I thank God for it's been wonderful, and it's great, and I hope that you also have a chance to have you know, what we call, in other words, I don't know, perfect is the word, a really good, complete fast. You know, and of course, every time you use absolute kind of words like that, well, then people think, well, I can't have a complete fast. But you know what I mean. You have to get the gist of it. It can be done. You know, it's like dinner. You cook dinner. If you're in a good place when you're doing it, you know, pretty good place, and the good cook is there working in you, and so you cook the meal, you know, and it goes along in a normal way, and you serve it up and you eat it, and then afterwards you serve perhaps a small dessert or something, and at the end of the meal everybody feels, you know, this was good, this is a complete dinner, and I feel satisfied, and, you know, about dinner. And it's nice, and it's a nice feeling. And I'm just saying the fast can be, I hope you have that kind of a fast as well. Alright, well, thanks for listening. If you did, I hope you got something out of this video, and God bless you, and you know, keep you, and may you grow and learn and serve God, and go to a good place after you pass over and stuff like that in the future. Okay? Alright. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.